you so much for being here. When I was preparing this presentation, the first question that came to my mind was, is anybody going to be there? Like, is it really, I don't know, people care about this? So yeah, that is the answer, so yes. So thank you again for being here. My name is Sandra de la Fuente, and today we're gonna share, and I don't know you, but I've been really inspired today myself, like with everything that we have been kind of hearing and feeling actually. So probably this piece of the day will be another, so you can make probably the whole pie for the day. So we're gonna speak about, yes, one special community, the migrant community. So please, if you have some comments, for the sake of the time, we want to take those at the end, but please skip it so we want to hear you too. So faith in community, and this morning we heard about the protective factors, right? So we already are in there. And just a little bit about myself, and that this is important because it's like, as everybody in here, we want to know who we are. So yes, I am a woman, mother, wife, immigrant, of course, professional, entrepreneurial, and LDS. So, and besides everything, we have one intern in our nonprofit organization, and he asked me a really great question. He said, what does letters mean that go with your name? And it's like you don't care. You don't really care about that. But the most important thing is like who we are, right? So this is part of our today. I represent this nonprofit organization, and believe me, today to be here, stand up and say yes, and we work for this cause is hard. So that's why this occasion is really important. So our mission is to contribute to a successful acculturation through quality, affordable, and culturally adapted mental health care that fosters healing, resilience, and belonging in at-risk communities in Utah. And yes, at-risk communities in Utah, the migrant community. So let's start talking about that. So just a few terms that we can probably be in the same channel, but besides that, we already have that introduction. But immigrant population includes migrants, refugees, asylum seekers, first and second generation in the host country. Suicidal behavior, well, ideation, attempts, and unfortunately death. Protective factors, as we said this morning, those conditions or attributes that reduce risk and enhance resilience, and we're looking for those. And then faith in community, which has the protective factor that we're gonna talk today, the religious, spiritual beliefs, and the congregational support, as well as the community network. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Well, why this topic matters? And I don't see Sergio here, but he was really passionate about his question, right? Like, yeah, why we need, and that's because he is like, but this topic really matters because suicide is a huge public health issue. So we need to talk, we need to share, we need to open up these spaces. That is why it is important. In migration, this is important. It's not only the relocation, it's not only the physical or the geographical movement of people. It's a huge, deep and psychological, cultural, and social rupture. So if we see that from that perspective, we can probably see how important it is. And besides that, we are in a land of immigrants. So we need that. So the migration journey involves, as I said, multiple phases. The pre-migration. And this is hard because why people will move from their countries? And we have so many answers, doesn't we? We have. But sometimes the pre-phase, the pre-migration phase could be as traumatic as the migration, and even the post-event. So we have the transit stress, post-migration, and integration. And all this raise mental health vulnerability. While I was downstairs listening, And I think this panel made an amazing job. And I was just thinking, can you just imagine everything that mothers can go through with this physical, biological, psychological, and then can you just imagine having all this, but being without your mother, without your community, in a health system where you don't know what is going on, where you don't even speak the language, so you can share, you can even ask for something. So it's I don't know how many times, but I'm not saying that that is not important, but it's just like so many other layers of burden that the migrant community can experience. Then a little bit about the psychological framework. So we have this feeling disconnected and unseen. And it is real. I don't know, maybe you have had the opportunity to be in or among these communities. We have, in our organization, we provide support groups, and we have every week, we have experiences where we have seen so many cases from people who come from different countries, of course, Latin America, Mexico, but we also have some, Spain, even other countries, Portugal as well. And this part of feeling disconnected and unseen is huge. I remember a person, she is a lawyer from Mexico, and she's a grandma as well, and she was saying something like crying, sharing with us. She went to a store to buy some fabric to make some pajamas for her grandchildren, and she left out the store crying in tears because nobody could understand her, of course, because of the language, but neither because what you wanted to do with that. And then she said something really, really hard. She said, I feel so stupid. I feel that I have no worth. And she said, but I study. I work hard in my country. I have a degree. But here, I'm nothing, is what she said. So this feeling about feeling disconnected and unseen is so hard. And it's not my purpose today to make of the migrant community a victim. We're not. But this is real. This is real. So we also have this believing of our existence is burdening others. And that is also hard. And then the reduced fear for death, because we have been exposed already to trauma. So it's like what else? And we have heard also some other great experiences with families who come, a family especially who came from, I think, Honduras. And their children, both of them, were kidnapped in Mexico. So while they were traveling, in addition to the pre-trauma, because they had to leave their country, they experienced that in Mexico. And then when they came in here, they had nothing. So their story, it was really, really having this exposure to death. So they said, well, I was already there, or I was so close to death. What will happen if I now just ended up with this cycle of violence or sadness? This is really, really important for us as well. Well, what are the risks? And I already shared a little bit about this. So yes, the pre-migration trauma, the stress and displacement, discrimination, acculturation conflict, intergenerational gaps. This is something hard. Now that we're seeing some, I don't know, like families who come, they're the first generation, and then their children, they start to ask questions about who am I? Where do I belong? What country should I go in the soccer game or football game? And then this is something that we need to be prepared as a community to answer, or to provide resources to our community to answer that questions. Of course, the linguistic and social isolation. Having you heard, I don't know, maybe a friend or an occasion where you thought that person wasn't in the ability to talk. And it's not because they couldn't, it's because it is that barrier. We don't feel that we can speak up or we can say something. And then the stress of building a new life. We have to do what we have to do. Maybe you have the experience about serving a mission or living in another country, and then you have feel those I don't know, sensations about having to ask for help in maybe your health or with food or with some other needs, and then trying to start building a network of resources. And then faith ambivalence. Some migrants may even leave their faith and start with a new, because it's like a new word. They can start with one. And then the cultural silence of suicide. We, especially in Latin American, we don't talk about it. We don't, we like, don't say any word, don't just give any ideas, right? But it is hard. Sometimes we don't even know what happened, but this is something we have to talk, and we have learned today that once we start talking, and today Margie was saying, yes, let's bring up this conversation and have these resources. So this is what we are facing now. And the consequences, what do we see in a mental health field? Well, post-traumatic stress, grief, depression, hopelessness, existential despair, lack of control, isolation, guilt, identity confusion. I remember a story from a businessman who says something about that really shocked the rest of the other entrepreneurs that were at that meeting. He says something like, well, when I was a Mexican, I was doing something like that. And then he would go, wait a minute, were you a Mexican? And he said, yes. I had to just leave that part, or left that part of my Mexican person in order to be able to build a new personality or a new thing here. So sometimes it's like you have to even left who you are, or forget about that, or left your traditions and culture in order to fit, and that is a real conflict. And well, sometimes when we don't have no early help, and we already talked about that, the crisis levels of suffering, and then chronic stress, hopelessness, loss of spiritual anchor. I remember being amazed by the idea, at least in Utah County, that it was, at that time at least, just one church, like Catholic church, for a huge community. And I don't know how I could probably, find my spiritual with having probably no resources, or resources like so far away from where we are. And then the hidden and suffering delayed intervention. And it was in the panel when they say about, well, because we don't know first, we don't know. And then we feel that something is wrong with us, so we don't ask for help. And then the intervention can be very, very late, sometimes when it's nothing else to do. And this is a model. So when we see a community or a migrant community, we can probably think about this. Okay, this is a word that just splits up. And then we feel this abandonment, existential anguish, identity conflict, and loss of sense of belonging. And that is why being part of a community, and Carl said that really, really beautiful this morning, that is why being a part of a community is important and is crucial. And then we can then unify. And we probably won't unify after migration. We won't unify this word as it was, because the experiences that we have now, because of everything that we have learned, it wouldn't be able to fit again as it was. But we need to create a new or an adapted word. And that is our challenge as migrants. That's why faith, culture, and community can be those protective factors, right? Can restore meaning, connection, and hope. These are the most potent antidotes to suicidal immigration in the lives of migrants. we need, do you remember this? We feel that way. We feel like we're broken, that something is missing. Well, community can do the opposite, can give that sense of belonging. So, what is the perspective pathway that we have right now? Well, faith in community can transform risk into resilience. So let's work for that. Faith communities offering what offers? Acceptance and belonging, culturally grounded healing and spiritual meaning, and community integration, peer networks, and mentorship. Probably at this part of our conversation, it would be good to ask ourselves, what are we doing? If we are seeing someone who is different, and when I'm thinking in the migrant community, I also can think of the postpartum or maternal mental health, or the community, the LGBTQ community. I mean, we can probably think on students who are in the back, right? Or we can think on all people who are here, and then everybody needs to have this community integration. It's probably not the point to make like a special group for everyone, but instead of that, we need to connect. We need to be able to say, hey, I noticed you're different, right? Tell me about it. I want to learn. I want to try. I want to be able to feel it. And that is something that we as a migrant community need. We need that openness to say, hey, let me share you something about tomorrow. I'm doing like a Dia de los Muertos event. Come and see. Come and try. And also, teach me about yours. Teach me about Thanksgiving. That is my favorite holiday. We don't have that in Mexico. And I love that. So please teach me, integrate me to your culture, because we need that. And in that part, I don't need to forget about my culture and my traditions, but I need to be able to build, to rebuild like another world with your culture, my culture. That's the point. So let's try to do that. Faith, then, is the first, so the protective factor. Provides what? Religiosity, spirituality, and participation. And this is really, really good, because they have been like proven that association and community integration provides this sense of belonging. What is the mechanism? Faith communities may provide identity. Who am I? Well, I'm Mexican, he's Brazilian, she's Puerto Rican. I'm saying that right? Yeah. And maybe, but we all may share, like, we are children of God. So we have something in common. And then I feel part of that. It doesn't matter where was I born, but maybe it matters where do I belong. And that is really cool. Then we go to the community. So besides that, maybe that huge sphere, where do I belong? I have a community. And it's not probably just my Latino, Hispanic community, but my school community, my work community, I don't know. And we can share so many things. It doesn't matter where or who I am or what my traditions and culture, but we share some really, really good. We share the same, I'm sorry?
Things in common.
We have things, yeah, so we're sharing, what do I want to do? Last Sunday, I was teaching a class, and I was just so excited about throwing out that question, because the answers were just amazing. And I said, if you had no limit in money or time, and you could do something good for your community, what would you do? Don't worry about funds. Don't worry about who's going to take care of your children or do you another. You can do what would you do? And then the answers were really amazing. So think about that. Aren't we, all of us, able to do something good and maybe get together to realize this goal? I think so, right? Then, if we unite this, imagine we can unite faith and community, then those protective factors will be stronger. right? So if we understand since my perspective as a community leader and as a community leader, how can we work together? How can I take care of your community and you can take care of my community as well? Well, maybe you have some resources, I have some services, and I have some resources, but you have some. And then we all know people who can be beneficiated for everything that we're doing together. So immigrants often arrive with cultural and faith identities. And then we can take advantage of that. We can grow with that and have more and be like a richer pool of resources. Faith communities often serve as multilingual, culturally sensitive hubs offering social, emotional, and practical support. In our table, I think her name is Sandy, she's not here. She says something about the My Hometown initiative from the church. And yes, so faith communities can do this because they serve as centers where the community can provide service, learn like life skills, and build a stronger community. So this is the thing, the kind of work that we're talking here. And then the research shows that when immigrants face discrimination, religious service attendance and congregational acceptance really, really matter when we think about suicidal. So faith and community together may help counter isolation, provide belonging, reduce perceived burdensomeness. That's a long word, isn't it? Yeah. Burdensomeness, and affirm value. But this is something really important as well. We should not just fantasize about that just having these resources will be the whole idea, because it also has some faith context may stigmatize mental health and suicide. In this point, it's gonna be hard. And maybe the environment to speak up or to say something about how I'm feeling or what do I want to do, or if I feel part of that, instead of being something good, could be harder. So it is important to be, in my perspective, it's like being able to open up our eyes and ears and say, well, is my community even, social or in my religion, but is my community open to this conversation or is stigmatizing this theme? We need to be honest and start to ask questions and say, well, maybe I don't feel comfortable speaking about this because I feel or I know they're gonna be judged or gonna be somehow labeled, and then we better don't open up. So that may be something hard that we need to also take in account. Community cohesion may be disrupted by acculturation. Sometimes, especially as Mexican, I can say probably that, we think that if we have the same traditions and we are like a Mexican family, we will be happy. But if my daughter, who is 14, is growing up in a different country than I grew up, and I didn't have internet at that time, and they have now, so it's like a huge different thing. So if I think that just because she's part of my family, she will be okay, but I'm not taking into account that she's growing in a different context where I don't know. I have been asking questions to my friends. Margie, what is a crush? Because I don't know. I don't know so many things. And I have to start like, oh my goodness, how can I explain this to my children if I don't know since my culture? So we need to start learning. And don't think that because we're part of a Mexican traditional family, they're gonna be okay. That's not real. So we also need to be conscious about that. Sometimes my children say, hey mom, I almost forgot I'm Mexican. And then because we go to a market or a special store where you seen those Latin markets where they have even music, I feel like I'm in home. Right? So sometimes my children go, I almost forgot we're Mexican as well. Well, we have to go there sometimes to feel that or to have that feeling. Even the bad feelings, because if you go there, you will have also bad feelings, but it's part of the culture, isn't it? So the protective benefits may decline by the time. that is also something important. We have had in our ward a really nice opportunity to teach a Sunday class in Spanish. Sunday school. Oh, a Sunday school. Uh-huh. And that was revolutionary. But we found in that class blessings, and I don't know, it was just an amazing time. But I said was to you. I said was. Why? Because at the beginning, after probably a year, a Peruvian family who was there had the opportunity to share their testimony in Spanish inside our small class. And it was just shocking to hear that person. It was the man, the brother, who was just crying, but because of what he was feeling. And he said something like, I have been here in this country for a year, but I wasn't being able to bear my testimony because of the language. And then he bear that in that such a small group, like with Spanish speakers. And it was an amazing opportunity to just share what we feel inside our own community. But once the time passes, then we need to go forward. And then we can't stay there for too many time, right? For so long time. Because we need to also to start looking at some other opportunities. And yes, learn the language. And yes, learn the culture. Yes, we need to do that. So it is important to have present that family, community, faith are important. But we need to go towards that. And don't think that we want to stay here because this is just good. And that's it. Well, let's talk a little bit about the strategies. Carol, 10 minutes? 15? Okay, we're good. So, thank you. So, yeah. Okay, so what can we do? Well, in a faith, from the faith perspective, we can open up those spaces. So offer culturally sensitive mental health education, reduce the stigma around suicide and help seeking, train faith leaders on suicide awareness, and found these referral pathways that person was downstairs asking, okay, what is the path? How can I do it? Facilitate support groups within the congregation for immigrants, refugees facing acculturation, isolation, family conflict, and celebrate diversity. We need to celebrate diversity. Open cultural spaces to develop strengths inside that environment. And then what happened with the community? This is an actual picture of our support group where we're doing our sessions. And then in that session, we were doing some art. And it is just amazing to see, to have like so many women from different countries because we have so much fun. You have to come because we are from different countries. So even we have some people from Brazil, and they speak, oh my gosh, they speak Spanish so good. We can speak Portuguese, but they speak Spanish great. They are amazing. In these groups, we promote peer mentorship, community connective activities, language, social integration process. We have someone who said, I thought that I was the only one who was feeling this way, disconnected, that something was wrong with me. I thought I was the only one. But when we are in a community, when we are in our support groups, we realize that we are not the only ones. And actually, sometimes they say, oof, I thought I was bad, but she's worse. I'm better. So we step out like feeling much better because we found that network and support in our groups. And then we facilitate partnerships between faith groups, mental health services, and immigrant resettlement agencies. It's like a whole activity, right? And then, yes, this is the faith community and public health where we need to work on. They were saying something really important about public health this morning. And we also need to do some lobbying. We need to work in that levels. Some people may work with the community as well, but we need people who can do that for us, the policies, and make changes and set up standards. So let's work on that. And I'm gonna go a little bit faster because this is the time to take some comments and ideas. And from you as well. So we have to have time. We want to have time for that. So where are we going? What are we taking here? Which faith or community organizations in your context currently engage immigrant populations? Have you thought about that? And then, what are the strengths and gaps? And we talk a little bit about that also downstairs. And then, how might your organization or network strengthen community belonging and faith integrated support for immigrant mental health? How can we do that? And we have I think we have the answers, but we heard that also downstairs. And I love the first part as well. Like, we have to what? Yes, we have to listen. We have to stay. We have to just be present. We have just to be there and try to just listen and be there and not trying to fix, right, the feelings. Yeah. What barriers or faith incongruous resources or limitation, and how could they be addressed? What have been the barriers about integrating migrant communities? What is the barrier?
One of the barriers is like sometimes you cannot integrate the community because we move to different places and we have like a different set of beliefs and different types of religion or I don't know a level of profession. A lot of places think that because we are immigrants, we are just farm workers or cleaners or construction people, and they don't think that we have careers, doctor's degree, masters. I mean, the perception plays a big role on being engaged or having the community together. I think that's the main thing, the perception.
The perception.
That we have of each other.
Yes.
Can you repeat that so people online can hear it?
Oh, yes. So what barriers, faith, that's the example. Could be stigma, cultural, faith, incongruence. Sometimes we say some things but do something else, right? Or resource, like limited resources. So what barriers have you found? Yes. Oh, we need a microphone. Where is it?
Oh, there it is. I am so sorry. Here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So some of the barriers that we go through, of course, the language, food, education system, health system. So for us as leaders, if we help them with those resources, right? Language first, help the parents to understand how the educational system work with the GPA and classes, and the kids need to be in school, otherwise the parents can get in trouble. And so all of that, which is almost a no-brainer, right, for somebody that was born here or has been here for a long time, those are the help that we can give to our community for sure.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Natalia, as well. So it made me remind the Maslow pyramid. Mm-hmm. So yes, when leaders are trying to first cover the first level, just the basics, just the survival, right? And then that could be a huge barrier as well. Yes. And we also need more research. So public health, we need to do more research about this. Okay, so what are we taking out today? Well, we as the immigrant population face this risk, suicide risk, through complex migration, acculturation, and social connection pathways. That is our reality. As I said at the beginning, imagine everything, and on top of that, not knowing who, where, how to solve all these questions. And then faith in community, yes, yes, are protective factors for our community and for this important matter. So we need to be present and inclusive. And then in order to have an effective prevention, we need to leverage fair communities, broader social networks, and form more partnerships. It's like a win-win. And then our commitment, engage faith leaders, reduce stigma, build connectedness, and monitor and evaluate. Let's talk more, and let's listen more, and let's be more open to this. And is probably going to be my last? Yes, this is the last. So, yeah, who we are. Who is an immigrant? Who is an immigrant?
Are you asking?
Yes. Who is an immigrant?
Oh, sorry. I was raising my hand because I am an immigrant. I didn't know you wanted me to answer something.
Good, okay. But a person living in a country other than that we were born. So, yes. Yeah.
But I think it's go even deeper than that, right? Somebody that come from, so for example, Louisiana to Utah, right? So it's a huge change in culture and mannerism and so many things. So immigrants, I believe, is anyone that is in a situation where things are new for them and they need help to adapt to that culture, to the new environment.
Yes, totally. Because being an immigrant is not a fact. It's a process. It is a process. Yes, Margie.
I have two comments, I guess. I love this question because in my previous job, Sandra and I had the opportunity to work together, and many of the immigrants that came in were first time in America. And so I was able to get to know them. And who they are, they're professionals. You know, they came from all walks of life, highly educated, most of them, many of them, highly educated. And it's so humbling for them to come here and not be able to do what they were trained to do. And so I love that question because you really do not know who you are speaking with. You need to take the time, like you said, Sandra, to spend some time and listen and get to know them. Because there's probably more in common with you than you realize. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Where you've been talking about groups, and I'm curious to know where in Utah these groups are. What I see a logo, but I'm curious to know what the name is and how we can connect.
Yeah. Please connect with us. We have some flyers downstairs. We're located in Orem, and we provide our in-person services in Provo and Orem, and we have some online services as well in support groups. So yes, please come. We will be more than happy to share with you, and you take those with your communities as well. So yes, Margie, who is an immigrant? It's a person who is in a process, right? Maybe, and as Natalia said, maybe now, but maybe later we're gonna be because this is part of the process. And then, but could be all people, and I wrote that in Spanish because I have to think sometimes, and that is part of being an immigrant because we have our mind in two different places. So yes, professional, mother, working, ecclesiastical leader, and we have so many attributes, and that would be my final word. Get to know us. We have so many good things to share, to contribute to the community. Even if we don't know how, we will learn. Give us the opportunity. Open up those spaces for us because, we are here already. So we are here until we are here. So this is the path. Thank you so much for your time today.